Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Thursday.
They were asking about the most important thing that your dog has chewed up. A couple of great answers on the post on the Community Cruise page on Facebook, making me laugh. But they were asking because of a story about a dog eating Iron Maiden tickets, though the person still made it to the show. Now, that sparked a little bit of a different dog-related Iron Maiden concert story for me, because many years ago now, many years ago, just before I was able to move back here to start talking on the radio, I had 2 tickets to an Iron Maiden show. Yeah, 2 tickets to Iron Maiden, baby. But I needed to be here in McMurray the very next day after the concert, so the option at the time was a midnight bus ride up north. But when we got back from the show, with just very little time to grab the luggage and head to the bus station, we got back home to find out that our dog had unfortunately had something I could only describe as a diarrhea storm. All through the kitchen, a hurricane of sorts, in her fur and everything. Oh, it was a nightmare. So there was a disgusted and high-speed cleaning session before I could actually head out on the road for the new chapter of life, Barely got to the bus station by 2 minutes to midnight. Hey, at least the Iron Maiden show was great. New evidence to support the idea that most people, as it turns out, are only working out to look hot, not to become healthier. Sorry, that's of the people who are working out, but that makes sense. We are insecure as people in general, and if I'm being honest, I think the mirror is more of a motivator than anything else when it comes to having the actual drive to work out. But the health impact will be the first thing for me to want to not work out. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing to make me falter. The second that I get anything that can be even possibly determined to be repetitive stress, discomfort, let alone pain or injury, I'm immediately thinking, well, if this isn't putting my body back together, then what's the point? Because we're trying to get hot, okay? All right, fine. But I'm still not going to like it.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
It's time for Cruz Music News with Steve Reeve.
The psychedelic rockers Tool could be seeing a class action lawsuit. At least somebody says it's possible, and this is coming after their music bash in the Caribbean. They had a 2-resort, 2-night sort of situation going on and promised 2 unique sets, though apparently that didn't mean there would be no repetition of songs between the 2 sets, the 2 dates. So some fans were disappointed to find that they were hearing the same song the second night after ponying up the money. And there is a Georgia-based lawyer saying that there should be some entitlement to compensation in this case. We'll see if it actually turns into anything. I kind of doubt it. Smashing Pumpkins have announced a very cool residency. They're going to be hanging out with the Lyric Opera of Chicago for 7 whole nights in November, a little bit later on, and this is part of their Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness 30th anniversary celebrations. It would be an incredible show to see if you find yourself in the big city, Chi City. Willie Nelson, this guy's unstoppable. He's just announced the 154th album. It's called Oh, What a Beautiful World, and this one specifically is going to be him doing covers of songs written by Rodney Crowell, who, he's worked with a little bit in the past. Certainly not anybody who's unknown to Willie Nelson, but it might be a chance for people who don't know who Rodney Crowell is to get a little bit more acquainted. New term to get unduly upset over. It's SleepMaxxing. This is, of course, coming from the general blank-maxing trends of TikTok, where people will try to maximize the efficiency or just nail a thing that everybody does, but do it really, really well or really extravagantly. SleepMaxxing specifically is when people are really, really, really focused on getting that good sleep to the point where people are saying it might be a detriment, might not actually be getting any rest. Now, there are a ton of different things you can do to help yourself have a nice sleep. Chamomile tea, maybe an eye sleep mask so you can keep the light out, maybe a white noise generator or something like that. Ours is the humidifier. perfect white noise. Gets me sleeping right away. But if you're trying to do everything that you possibly can in the lead-up hours before bed, you develop this gigantic new routine of all these different things you have to do and products you have to buy and things you have to keep up to date as well as restocked, then you might just be adding anxiety before bedtime. Maybe at that point, just put on the Lord of the Rings extended trilogy and just fall asleep.
Friday.
Lunar eclipse last night was a bust, as we kind of suspected, but we're hoping it wasn't. I even got a little false sense of security middle of the day yesterday, because I was looking out the window and goes, yeah, look, there's some sunshine and blue sky. If that just can hold on until nighttime, we got a chance at seeing this celestial event. Yeah, it's not going to be the last of the total lunar eclipses. There's, a couple a year or something like that. But depending on a ton of factors, positions of celestial bodies, blah, blah, blah. Last night, fundamentally, it was just too snowy, too cloudy. I got a clips of last night. I put one up on our social media this morning. Crisp and clear footage of the lunar eclipse. Of course, you just can't see it because it's, from ground level and it's just impossible. It was practically a whiteout at times last night. 3 Days Grace Volbeat, June 10th at Rogers Place in Edmonton, 10 a.m. Ticketmaster Live Nation sale begins. But Ryan on the line, waiting so patiently, man. I was putting out the call saying you got to answer me a question, and you're ready to do it this morning. You think you got it? Ready to play?
Would that be Volbeat?
No, so they're actually going to be co-headlining with Volbeat for this concert that we're giving away the tickets for. But before they start on that leg, they are opening up for a different band on their tour, the 25th anniversary of the Sickness Tour, if that helps.
Oh, Disturbed?
Yeah, that's the one, man. So that gets you some tickets to 3 Days Grace.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate that. I just jumped in my work truck and heard your voice, and that's a pretty rad way to make the day.
No kidding. Good timing. Happy Friday to you, and you got plans for June 10th.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
Brand new documentary called Before the End, and it's exploring conspiracy theories about Jim Morrison and the Doors, and even one that follows a trail that suggests perhaps he faked his death in 1971 and is still alive. Elvis called. He says he wants his bit back. Spinal Tap 2 has finally made the release date an official thing. They're going beyond 11. If you've seen the trailer so far, it shows an amp with all the different knobs being clicked to 11 until the final one clicks to 11 and then clicks to the infinity symbol. It's going to be coming out a little bit later on in the year. September 12th is the date, and it is 41 years since the original film came out in 1984. A lot of the original people, including Rob Reiner and, of course, the members of the band itself, returning to make us laugh. And the Deftones are nailing it with the actual North American tour. They've added new dates to their leg for 2025, and there are several Canadian stops. In fact, the new leg starts with Vancouver on October 22nd, and then, of course, you got Edmonton after that, Calgary and Winnipeg included, with Fantagram opening up for them. That would be an absolutely incredible show. Got to fulfill a dream from about 30 years ago last night by seeing the Arrogant Worms live. The Last Saskatchewan Pirate and all that. They've been around and making us laugh with distinctly Canadian humor and music over the last many, many years. And they paid us a visit last night, despite the weather, and put on an absolutely hilarious show down at Keanu Theatre. If you missed it, you missed it, but hopefully they're going to be swinging our way sometime soon. They do have a reason to be on tour more than just saying hi. It's because I found out they put out their first new album in like 8 years, and it's called Canadian Famous. And there wasn't any, intention to have it drop at a time when people are trying to buy Canadian as much as possible and are focusing in on what makes this country so great. Well, the Arrogant Worms are one of those reasons, and so glad to see them back. If you're curious, check them out. Find out about this new album, Canadian Famous. I got to get a photo with them last night and everything. Very, very welcoming. Very, very funny. Very, very down to earth. And still, just rocking that song as hard as ever.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.